We all know about this team. It's Ohio State. Probably one of the biggest blue blood teams in the game next to Alabama and Notre Dame. They are also the current, reigning, and defending national champions of college football. When you hear Ohio State Buckeyes, you know that whoever they are playing on Saturday is in for a bad day. This team also so happens to be my favorite. I grew up in the suburbs outside Columbus as a kid, and if there are three things I know very well, it's Johnny Marzetti, Jack Hanna, and Buckeye football. I love this damn team. The teams in the 2000s with players like Ted Ginn Jr., Mike Doss, Craig Krenzel, A.J. Hawk, Troy Smith, Maurice Clarett, and of course the damn sweater vest himself, head coach Jim Tressel, are what raised me. Saturday afternoons, watching Big Ten games against Purdue, Illinois, Wisconsin, and of course that fucking team up north were the foundation of my love for this game. However, slightly older fans of Ohio State probably react to my childhood nostalgia with jealousy, because those teams in the 2000s won big games in primetime. The 1990s? Hell no! The 1990s were probably the most infuriating era of Buckeye football Columbus ever had to sit through. It wasn't too long before then that the Buckeyes were the undisputed kings of the game, and it was all thanks to one man who became a god in this state, Wayne Woodrow Hayes.
You're only a senior. I'll be a goddamn son of a bitch.
The crazy bastard turned Ohio State into one of the most powerful teams in the sport during his tenure. With 5 national titles and 13 Big Ten titles, it was the Buckeyes' version of Camelot, a golden age that abruptly ended when his legendary temper finally got the best of him in the 1978 Gator Bowl, when he straight up punched a Clemson player after he intercepted an Ohio State pass. Ohio State had no choice but to fire him immediately. What followed was the Earle Bruce era. He did alright, but compared to the years under Hayes, it felt like a step down. 4 Big Ten titles and some solid bowl wins, yes, but no national titles and constantly going 9-3 was not what Ohio State had been used to. 1987, however, was exceptionally difficult. You start with a scandal around top wide receiver Chris Carter, who had secretly signed with an agent prior to his senior year. A major violation of NCAA rules at the time that would get him suspended for his senior season. Naturally, when you lose Chris Carter as your main weapon, this derails the entire offense. The Buckeyes would lose to Indiana for the first time since 1951 and lose 3 Big Ten games in a row before the final game against Michigan. Now, many felt like Earle Bruce just caught some bad breaks. It wasn't his fault that Carter broke NCAA rules, and given his success, you could argue the administration could have looked past the bad season. But University President Ed Jennings and the Board of Trustees felt otherwise, especially since they and Bruce fucking hated each other. On the Monday before the Michigan game, President Jennings ordered Athletic Director Rick Bay to quietly fire Earle Bruce, but allow him to coach through the Michigan game. Despite the rocky relationship Coach Bruce had with the president and the board, Rick Bay was a trusted friend. He was the only reason Earle had stayed for so long. In 1986, Rick had to beg Earle to stay at Ohio State rather than take a 5-year deal with Arizona. When Bay was told he had to fire Bruce only a year later, he not only didn't keep the firing a secret, but announced to the media the news of Earle's firing, as well as his own resignation as protest against the decision. The Buckeye football team, inspired by the resignation, would stage a protest of their own at the Michigan game. They all broke a team rule at the time that said no headbands would be worn with lettering on it. Coach Bruce was about to chew their asses out until he read the word on the headbands: Earle. The Buckeyes on that Saturday in November would beat the Wolverines in the Big House and carry Coach Bruce off the field. In any event, the board and President Jennings just got what they wanted. For the low price of a $471,000 legal settlement, equivalent to roughly $1.3 million today, due to Earle threatening to sue for breach of contract, now they get to hire a new coach that they actually like and will be better than 9-3 Earle Bruce. To be fair, the person they chose for the job didn't look like a bad replacement. His resume was fairly deep. After a standout career for Iowa State in the 50s, he would win 5 Missouri Valley Conference titles as head coach and athletic director at the University of Tulsa in the 70s. As head coach at Arizona State, he led the Sun Devils to 3 straight Rose Bowls in the 80s. He even beat Michigan in the 1987 edition of the Granddaddy. Most coaches would kill to have such a resume. However, this coach would go on to become one of the most controversial subjects in the long history of Buckeye football. So, with all that said, I think it's time I take a little bit of the pain I've been dishing out on a platter to everybody else. After all, as the saying goes, if I can't take the heat, I shouldn't be in the damn kitchen. To my fellow Buckeye fans, and I know there's a lot of you subscribed to this channel, I urge you to sit back, grab a few cans of Ohio Light, and join me as we descend into the misery and suffering of 1990s Ohio State. It'll be painful as hell, and the blame for this disastrous period can be placed on a lot of people, from the athletic director to the board to the president. But in reality, we all know who is responsible for this: the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes, John fucking Cooper. Ohio State announced John Cooper's hiring just hours after he won the Freedom Bowl in his last game with Arizona State. New athletic director Jim Jones would give Coach Cooper a 5-year contract worth $490,000, with roughly $240,000 guaranteed. To that point, this was the largest contract in the history of Buckeye football, but to many, it was believed to be worth the price. He was a hot coaching candidate at the time, to the point that the Texas Longhorns almost hired him as well. However, their demands that Coach Cooper skip his bowl game ended up torpedoing any agreement between them. That said, when he put pen to paper on his new contract for Ohio State, he knew next to nothing about the Buckeyes. Yeah, he's heard of them, but he didn't visit the campus, talk to the coaches that were already there, or really do any research at all. He was told they needed a coach, and he just showed up. When he finally walked around and saw the state of the program, though, it became clear why Ohio State had not been winning like they used to. The assistant coaches were being paid peanuts compared to the rest of the Big Ten. This would cause a constantly revolving door for assistant coaches, as they always left quickly for better paying jobs. The recruiting process was handled by writing down the names of high school recruits on fucking napkins, and the Buckeyes did the bare minimum on recruiting players outside of Ohio, likely to save on costs. Over the next few years, modernizing the program would be the bulk of Coach Cooper's work behind the scenes. And I'll go ahead and give him a compliment here because it worked extremely well, and Ohio State would eventually become very competitive with their assistant coach pay, as well as returning the Buckeyes to the top of the yearly recruiting classes nationally. But this is where the compliments end. Time to hit the field. The first season wasn't a memorable one for Coach Cooper. It was expected to be a painful rebuild, and goddamn was it. Blowout losses against Pittsburgh, Illinois, and Indiana, capped off by a very close loss to Michigan to end the year. The Buckeyes were down by 20 at halftime, but came roaring back to make it close late in the game, only to lose by giving up a late touchdown to the Wolverines. The series has been very even the last few years, with both teams trading wins, and with the rebuild still going on, it wasn't a shocking loss to say the least. Definitely hurt, but the potential shown by the Buckeyes here gave the fans a shred of hope going into the offseason. You are still trash after getting blown out 42-3 at USC and losing the Illabuck to Illinois yet again. But you finally beat Indiana, so hey, progress. Let's see how you did against Minnesota.
3rd and goal from the 5. 2 receivers split wide to Schaffner's left. It's a quick look in. Touchdown!
Guys, are you having a stroke? Seriously, it's fucking Minnesota. They are nowhere near this good. Wake the fuck up!
Seconds to go in the half. 4th and goal from outside the 1. Carlos looking for a seam. He makes it. Carlos Snow plows into the end zone. Buckeyes are on the board 31-6. The kick. Fry wants to throw. Open receiver Graham. He's got it. And the 2-point try after the touchdown is good. First down pass coming up. Open Snow. Touchdown. It's at 27. Buckeyes threatening again. Play action. Fry gets rid of it. Screen left to Snow. He needs a block or two. Streaking down the sideline all the way. Touchdown. Ohio State at the 1, 4th and goal, the wide side of the field to the left. Two tight ends, Cook in the slot in motion. Fry has it, he keeps, he got over. Greg Fry looking to the wide side, he's got a man wide open, Jeff Graham. It goes down. Open receiver, stay line again. No, it's Palmer who's down inside the 15. It's Jim Palmer. Stabline and Palmer come to the rescue here on this drive. Two big catches by 88 and 85. Palmer's catch gives the Buckeyes a first down at the 14. Throwing to the end zone. It's a touchdown.
Come on!
It's Greg Fry. Hook up. And the Buckeyes have capped off a miraculous comeback at the Metrodome.
Uh-oh. Guess who finally woke up? It's Ohio State. And they run through the next 3 games like a buzzsaw, blowing out Northwestern, Iowa, and Wisconsin. The momentum is on their side as they go on the road to the Big House to take on Michigan. Now get your win back from last year and show the Wolverines who the hell you are.
Rice pass for Beatty. Intercepted by Pitt, who had just come back into the ball game.
Fuck. Michigan not only beats you, but clinches the Big Ten title and sends Bo Schembechler off to the retirement home as a winner. Thank God, at least he's finally gone. This means you're going to beat Michigan next year for sure. I got some good news, though. You got to go bowling after a 3-year absence and play Auburn in the Hall of Fame Bowl. Yeah, I mean, they're ranked 8th in the nation. You're likely going to get your asses kicked, but this is going to build some real confidence going into next year.
This game. Ohio State power eye, double tight end. Snow is the eye back. He gets the pitch back. Here's Kylo Snow, and he's hitting in. Kylo Snow cracks the plane in the underdog Buckeyes at 2 because this Graham's eating him up. Fry, deep drop, fires a strike, touchdown Ohio State.
Wait, you mean we're going to beat a top team? Oh, this is great. Coach Cooper is a fucking winner, man. This team is doing great.
Cooper was afraid they'd be overmatched and he wanted to keep his offense out for a sustained drive to keep his defense off. Slack out. And there is the biggest hit maybe of the 1989-90 bowl season.
A call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! But not for me.
Slack fires, open man, touchdown Auburn as he gets the ball to Greg Taylor. Receivers left. Rollout. Slack can run, looks to throw. There's the pitch. He's down to the goal line, and it's a touchdown for Auburn. Down, and the Tigers need 4. Slack calls his own number. He's going in. Reggie Slack, who's thrown for 2, now runs for 1, and Auburn opens up a 23.
They're going to put a lot of pressure on you. One thing that we haven't seen many holding calls.
We haven't. Big play, but it's not going to work. Auburn defends it.
What the
Cooper talked about they think
oh my God!
Hunter signal to snap over his head with both
Receivers also.
on first and goal. Slack throws, and it's a touchdown for Auburn as he hits the weapon, Herbert Casey.
All right.
Never mind.
Shameful display!
Losing the Illinois to Illinois and tying Indiana doesn't really scream improvement. However, you did good enough to stay in the race for the Big Ten championship. The race for the title was a complete mess going into the final week, with many clinching scenarios. But for now, I'll just go over the ones that are most relevant to the story. Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, Illinois, and Iowa were all in the hunt for the Big Ten championship. Iowa had already beaten Michigan, Michigan State, and Illinois head-to-head. So if they win their game, they get to be outright Big Ten champions and get to go to the Rose Bowl. But if they lose and Ohio State wins, the Buckeyes would win the Big Ten championship and would go to the Rose Bowl instead, thanks to their tie over Indiana earlier in the season, giving them a slight boost on their conference record by half a point. This means the game against Michigan is all or nothing for Coach Cooper. This is a huge moment with a lot on the line, and to this point, he hasn't been able to pull out a major win. Now we will see if he can do it.
audience of 90,000. You are looking live at the Buckeyes in Ohio Stadium, Columbus, Ohio. John Cooper and his team will do battle against the Wolverines of Michigan.
Michigan makes the first mistake by fumbling the ball. Ohio State would take advantage and kick a 33-yard field goal to take a 3-0 lead. In the second quarter, Michigan drives the ball downfield but stalls out in the red zone, settling with a field goal of their own to tie the game at 3 apiece. On the next drive, Ohio State, pinned deep in their own territory, throws deep and gets picked off by Michigan. But the defense was able to hold the Wolverines off and force them to settle for another field goal. Michigan now leads the game 6-3. Classic, defensive, old-school Big Ten battle is brewing as Ohio State's offense is able to finally get moving and ends the drive with a touchdown pass to wide receiver Jeff Graham. Early in the third, Ohio State is able to kick another field goal to extend their lead to 13-6. However, Michigan found the end zone themselves on the following drive, tying the game at 13-all. Ohio State would attempt to march down once more, but would throw another interception instead. The Buckeye defense was able to hold off Michigan again and force another punt. On the next drive, Ohio State would throw another goddamn interception. Are you fucking kidding me? In what was the equivalent of an arm punt, Michigan regains the ball. But thankfully for Ohio State, their defense is playing out of their goddamn minds and saves their asses once more, forcing another Michigan punt. In the fourth quarter, Michigan lines up to try to kick a field goal to take the lead, but misses wide left. Ohio State's offense starts trying to go downfield, but a first down pass that could have put them closer to a field goal try is called back due to a clipping penalty. On 3rd and short, Ohio State calls a run up the middle, but ends up just short of the first down by mere inches. It is 4th down and 6 inches with the season on the line. How much on the line? Oh, well, I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you again. Here is how much was on the line with this play. There was no overtime in college football in 1990, so the game was about to end regardless of the score. Ohio State is deep in their own territory with under 2 minutes left and no timeouts. Punting the ball here would essentially mean they just punted away the Rose Bowl and a share of the Big Ten title. So that idea is out. Even if they did punt the ball here, there's no chance of Ohio State getting the ball back because Michigan could just run out the clock since OSU is out of timeouts. By the way, if this does end in a tie, randomly enough, Illinois goes to the Rose Bowl if Iowa loses. So let's just not let that happen, okay? Now, if you go for it here and you fail to get the first down, Michigan is suddenly in decent field goal range and could win it with a field goal kick. Adding to the pressure here for Coach Cooper is the fact that Minnesota versus Iowa has already kicked off their game and the Gophers just took the lead. There's really no other option at this point. You need to go for it here. It's about 6 inches away from the line, so a simple quarterback sneak or a fullback blast should be just enough for the first down. Just don't overthink this, coach.
Roles of the team. Fry has been around, a lot of experience, and it'll be called on now, even if they get the first down. If not, they could be handing it over to Michigan. Need less than a yard. Fry, kicked it, Michigan ball. Wolverines with a chance to win it.
What the fuck? You ran an option play? On 4th and inches. Why the fuck are you getting cute with all the shit you have on the line here? It's not rocket science, Johnny. It's fucking football.
J.D. Carlson wins it.
To rub salt in the wound, Minnesota would indeed beat Iowa. With Ohio State's loss, Iowa still secured the tickets to the Rose Bowl after the 4-way tie for the Big Ten championship. Think it's over? It's not. Air Force would beat you in the Liberty Bowl in December. Fans were starting to wonder if Coach Cooper is indeed cursed. All right, you're off to a good start this season going 4-0. Now, about getting back the yellow buck from Illinois.
Steps away from pressure, fires deep, there's an open man.
All right, still can't beat Illinois. And now you lose to Iowa after sitting on your hands all second half. Well, there's no Rose Bowl in sight here, but knocking off number 4 Michigan in the Big House would be just as good.
Tim Williams in to punt. Averaging just under 38 on 44 kicks this year. Nice high kick, got a little wind under it. And it runs Howard back. Look at that. Oh my goodness. One man. Goodbye. Hello, Heisman.
Fuck you, Desmond Howard.
They don't forget those who kick their ass. I just put it to you like that. So when I'm down there, I take it as a compliment. I tell them, thank you very much. Daz, man, you suck. Thank you very much. Daz, man, fuck you. Thank you very much.
Can you just please win the Hall of Fame Bowl?
Syracuse, full house backfield, one wide receiver. Graves, pump faking, there's a wide open man. Antonio Johnson takes it, he'll go in.
Ah, fuck off, will ya? Fans are foaming at the mouth at this point with anger. Too many losses in such a short period of time. You better show some improvement next season. You honestly should have been 10-0 coming into the Michigan game this year. You had some good improvement overall, but getting upset against Wisconsin and losing the...
Attempt to try to give the Buckeyes the lead. And he missed it left again.
Okay, I know people bitch and moan about the losses to Michigan and John Cooper's legacy, but seriously, why the hell can't we beat Illinois? It's Illinois! We all know the importance of this rivalry, right? Okay, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to drive the bus off a cliff for a moment here because I need to rant. If you don't know, the Ohio State and Illinois rivalry was once up there in importance with the game against Michigan. It was the last game of the season for Ohio State until 1935, when the Michigan game replaced it. It may not be as special today, but it is special in its own way. It's the game for the Yellow Buck Trophy, the second oldest trophy game in the Big Ten next to the Little Brown Jug, and it is the only trophy game for Ohio State. The rivalry began back in 1902, with the trophy being created in 1924. Let me rephrase that, actually. It wasn't created. Oh boy. Illabuck was originally a real living turtle. It wasn't just some small pet turtle either. Junior honor societies of Ohio State and Illinois, for some reason, bought the most vicious snapping turtle they could find from the basement of a Columbus fish shop. He was 16 pounds and 2 foot in diameter. So why did a bunch of college students decide to buy a big angry turtle as a trophy? Well, snapping turtles can live a long time, and they believed this would symbolize the future longevity of the rivalry, which, I mean, it's a nice sentiment, and honestly, it's very meaningful. So anyways, Illabuck died just over a year later. Because of course he did. It's a bunch of college students taking care of a fucking turtle. You're lucky if a modern college student knows how to use a microwave properly. Don't ask me how many microwaves I saw brutally murdered when I was in college. As a permanent replacement, they carved a wooden replica of Illabuck that is still used as the trophy to this day. Anyways, the reason I'm getting pissed off now is that Ohio State leads the all-time series between them and Illinois by a fuck ton. The fans, to put it simply, were livid. Since Coach Cooper came in, no bowl games have been won. Ohio State can't seem to win back the Yellow Buck from Illinois. No Big Ten championships have been won. And the biggest sin of them all is they still haven't found a way to beat Michigan. Earle Bruce was no Woody Hayes, but by year 4 in his tenure, Ohio State had 2 Big Ten titles, a bowl win, and had beaten Michigan at least once. Knowing this, the fans wanted John Cooper fired, but the university was staying silent on his future. However, all of Coach Cooper's past failures could be forgiven if Ohio State could knock off Michigan at home. The Wolverines were undefeated. Sorta. They had 2 ties on the season, including one the week prior to Illinois. They're going to the Rose Bowl regardless of result here, so really Ohio State is just trying to end the losing streak and fully end Michigan's national title hopes.
Today on ABC Sports College Football, a Big Ten traditional. The Michigan Wolverines and the Ohio State Buckeyes. Hello again, everybody. There is no question this is one of the great rivalries in college football. But if you're John Cooper, it has been something of a struggle. John Cooper's Buckeyes have yet to beat a Michigan football team in 4 tries. And the Wolves are barking at his heels.
Ohio State would take an early 3-0 lead in the first quarter, but the game would soon devolve into a defensive slugfest. In the second, Michigan quarterback Elvis Graybeck would take in a 3-yard touchdown rush, but would be injured diving for the end zone and miss the rest of the game with a bruised kidney. The kicker missed the point after, and the score was now 6-3 Michigan. In the third, Michigan would again find the end zone, this time behind backup quarterback Tom Collins, and extended the lead 13-3. The Buckeyes offense could only get enough yards for a 30-yard field goal early in the fourth. Then late in the fourth quarter, Ohio State would finally string together a long enough drive downfield to the Michigan 3-yard line, but were stonewalled by the defense. With Ohio State down 6 with 4 minutes left, they had no choice but to go for it on 4th and goal. Now, Coach Cooper, do not overthink this play. Run something simple. And for the love of fucking God, no more option plays.
In the Big Ten, and they fired him. Cochran is the remaining back. Herbstreit's going to throw it. Does. Touchdown. Beatty.
Quarterback Kirk Herbstreit, that Kirk Herbstreit, finds wide receiver Greg Beatty for the touchdown. And finally, Ohio State has a chance to take the lead back if they just convert the 2-point conversion. You kick the extra point. I mean, I guess you have time left if you can get a quick stop on defense, but the offense has been struggling all damn day. The cautious call would pay off at first, as Michigan would indeed be forced to punt the ball back to Ohio State after going 3 and out. However, Kirk Herbstreit couldn't throw the fucking long ball. The offense got to the Michigan 49, but they came up short of the first. It was now 4th and 4, too far away to kick a field goal, and likely remembering what happened 2 years ago, Coach Cooper elects to punt the ball and hope for Michigan to fuck up, which they nearly did by muffing the punt, but they still recovered the ball. Michigan would run the clock out and throw a few Hail Marys to try to snatch victory in the final seconds, and Ohio State would pick the ball off on the last play of the game, but could not take it back for a touchdown. The game ends in a tie.
Tie game?
What the hell? This is outrageous.
I've never been so proud of them.
They're both losers! Losers!
Michigan's national title hopes are basically dead with their 3rd tie of the season, but tying Michigan is about the same as losing to Ohio State fans. John Cooper would blame the field conditions for the poor result as much as Michigan being a good football team, but the excuses were not enough. The fans and boosters really began to turn the temperature up, and following another bowl game loss, this time losing the Citrus Bowl to Georgia, his seat was white hot. Remember, Earle Bruce averaged 9 wins a season in his career at Ohio State, but still got shown the door. To this point, John Cooper has struggled to get past 8 wins. Seemingly after 5 years, it was time to fire him and find a replacement, right? This is where I bring back up the good things I mentioned earlier about John Cooper. The recruiting classes at this point had begun to improve. Yes, Ohio State went 8-3-1 in 1992, but this was actually their best season yet under Coach Cooper. It might be extremely slow, but the improvements in recruiting have resulted in some improvements on the field, and the freshmen coming into next season were looking really damn good. Also, the game against Michigan was not a loss. It wasn't a loss. It was a tie, but officially it's not a loss. To the fans, it might as well have been, but to the administrators, a tie against Michigan, the same year the Wolverines won the Big Ten title and the Rose Bowl, while not ideal, was enough to keep Coach Cooper around. Keep in mind, not only was Michigan in the late 80s and early 90s a fucking powerhouse, the Big Ten was also incredibly deep most seasons. It was an extremely tough conference to play in. So factoring all this in, the school was content to let Cooper stay for another year. If progress stalls in 1993, however, they may not be able to save him. With the preseason polls putting Ohio State at number 18 in the nation, they stormed through the Rice Owls 34-7. In a top 25 matchup against number 12 Washington, the Buckeyes lead the entire game and sealed the win with a Butler by no touchdown late in the fourth. You go into Pitt Stadium and demolish the Panthers 63-28. The Buckeyes are back in the top 10 rankings. Running backs Raymond Harris and Butler Bynote, as well as a young Eddie George, torched the Yinzer AstroTurf with 300 yards combined rushing and 5 touchdowns between them. After a week off, you return home and demolish Northwestern 51-3. The Ohio State defense keeps Illinois out of their own end zone, and finally the Buck is coming back home to Columbus. This might finally be the year the Buckeyes break through. Sparty would try to mount a comeback in the fourth quarter, but it would not be enough as Ohio State stretches the winning streak to 7-0.
First down, they fake the give, they throw it to the end zone. It's picked off by Ohio State, and this might be a 100-yard return for Marlon Turner. He'll go down the near side of the field. He's at the 30, 20, 10. He's going all the way. Yeah, Auburn. I'll tell you right quick. Auburn, fourth down. Pass intercepted. Picked off by Walton Taylor, his second of the day.
All right, it's lowly Wisconsin and Camp Randall. We already know we're going to win. It's only a question by how much. Now teach these rodents a damn lesson. Wait. You're tied? And Wisconsin's about to win the fucking game? Jesus fucking Christ, the curse of Cooper strikes again.
The kick is blocked, and the kick is blocked. It's blocked by Ohio State.
Holy shit, you're lucky. I don't know how you managed to nearly blow it to Wisconsin, but that score should remind you not to take anyone lightly. Just go destroy Indiana. We got Michigan in 2 weeks. Don't worry about the tie against the Badgers. It won't come back to haunt you so long as you win out. 23-16. I wouldn't say you demolished them. It was actually pretty damn close, but a win is a win. Well done. You're 1 win away from the Rose Bowl.
As the '93 college football season started, Michigan was the popular choice to repeat as Big Ten champions. But along the way, there have been some bumps, like a fumble with a win in hand against Illinois, and a lightning strike loss, which killed championship hopes, and a killing defeat at Wisconsin, and second place gone too. Meanwhile, old rival Ohio State rolling along unbeaten, leading the Big Ten, dodging a loss with a last-minute block of a Wisconsin field goal try, and the desperate tip of an Indiana pass that might have given the Hoosiers a late-game lead last week. Today, a sure ticket to the Rose Bowl if the Buckeyes could beat Michigan, and Coach John Cooper would love to have one more ride off the field.
As ABC Sports College Football, in association with the Big Ten Conference, presents the Ohio State Buckeyes as the Michigan Wolverines.
This is it. The best Buckeye team in years against an unranked Michigan team. The best possible prize awaits you, clinching the Big Ten title and the Rose Bowl on Michigan's home turf and breaking the losing streak. Hell, you might even be able to sneak a claim for the national title if you play this right. Your time is now. Get it done.
Admiral, we have enemy ships in Sector 47.
It's a trap.
To the NFL.
Pressure coming, Collins gets it away, going into the corner with it, it is caught! Yep, Collins still got it. Lets it go for Alexander. He caught it! And give it to the fullback, Richie. Touchdown, Michigan.
Put down the pass and he'll throw it.
Pressure coming, throws it, pass to the fullback, and St. Buster caters in. Now the Buckeyes are playing back, gets it away, going deep, and falls down. It's intercepted in the end zone. It'll come out from the 20, and it's the fourth interception of the man for Michigan. Collins gives to Davis. Running for the corner, touchdown.
That's it? That's all you fuckers can do? You don't even score a fucking touchdown against the Wolverines? You've been undefeated all season, and that is the best you can, God fucking damn it, like what the fuck, John? What in the actual Oh, you want a silver lining? Fuck you. You get to jacket in San Diego with the fucking Mormons. While Wisconsin goes to Pasadena. That tie sure did come back to bite you in the ass, all right. Thanks to your loss against Michigan and Wisconsin winning against Illinois in the final week, you split the Big Ten title with them. Normally, the first tiebreaker for the Rose Bowl back then was whoever beat the other head-to-head goes to Pasadena. But since you and Wisconsin tied, the second tiebreaker had to kick in, which was the dreaded repeat drought rule. This little piece of shit stated that in the event of a split conference championship, the team who had not been to the Rose Bowl the longest would be sent to Pasadena regardless of other results, rankings, or other head-to-head matchups. Since Wisconsin's last Rose Bowl was back in the 1960s and Ohio State went to one in 1984, the Badgers not only get to go to Pasadena, but also won the motherfucker. For modern Buckeye fans who did not experience this in person, imagine today head coach Ryan Day going undefeated, being in line for a Rose Bowl and a national championship berth, only to lose to Michigan and end up missing the playoffs entirely. Oh, wait a fucking minute, that did happen! The difference here is that, unlike 20 years later when Ohio State got bent by Mizzou in the Cotton Bowl, the Buckeyes actually won the Holiday Bowl. John Cooper's first bowl win as Ohio State's head coach. At least the fire John Cooper chants have calmed down for now.
Jagged, 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 jack. Spanking it, smacking it, smack. Jagged it, jagged it, jagged it, jack. Jagged it, spanking it, spanking it.
Washington and Illinois got the revenge on you for last year. Doesn't help that your quarterback Bob Hoying is inexperienced and your top scorers got drafted to the NFL. A step back this year only makes last season even more painful. On top of that, you guys got demolished by new Big Ten member Penn State, 63-14. Not gonna bullshit here, I doubt y'all are beating Michigan at this rate. It's the second to last year of John Cooper's current contract, and with how much of a step back this team took this season, it's likely John Cooper is finally gonna get fired if they lose. Honestly, good. The bastard has proven he can't win when it matters. Just get it over with.
So they might still be a little deflated. We'll see how that unfolds.
That's a safety.
Now it'll be Callaway. They fake the toss, and Hoying's going to roll for the touchdown. Buckeyes! Collins. Batted. Intercepted! Buckeyes! Touchdown!
Now they're playing zone, right?
Bucks football. The victory's at hand now.
Excellent wide outside rush by Matt Fink as he came right around Trezell Jenkins.
And John Cooper has finally beaten Michigan. No one deserves this ride any more than the coach who's been pummeled down there in the middle of that group right now. He's disappeared.
He did it? With his job on the line, somehow John Cooper has coached Ohio State to win against Michigan. It took 6 tries, but the bastard finally beat them. The fans could finally shut the hell up. John Cooper has led the Buckeyes to the first win over the Michigan Wolverines since 1987. It was expected that had he lost, he would have likely been gone. However, the Monday after beating Michigan, instead of preparing for the Citrus Bowl against Alabama, John Cooper was in Atlanta, Georgia, talking to administrators from LSU about their head coaching job. What was going on is that after the Michigan game, Ohio State did indeed offer Coach Cooper a new contract. However, instead of an entirely new deal, it was a 2-year extension of his current one. Despite the win against that team up north, Ohio State justifiably didn't want to rush into an expensive long-term deal again with Cooper. Yeah, he beat Michigan. Yeah, he has a share of a Big Ten title, but with a 1-5 bowl record in 7 years, they determined this performance was nowhere near enough to throw him a long-term deal. After the years of the press and the fans breathing down his neck about his record in bowls and against Michigan, he was about fed up. he decided to look around and found a potential home in LSU, who had just fired their head coach Curly Hallman after going 4-7. The Tigers even offered him a rumored $600,000 over a multi-year deal to coach them. When Ohio State got word about this, they shit a brick. Not because of John Cooper leaving, the man isn't the problem now. It's what he built with recruiting. If he leaves, the entire recruiting pipeline he built will go tits up. It's not just Ohio State now, but also the Carolinas and Florida. Him fucking off to an SEC school could result in losing the pipelines. Not to mention the number of recruits that would decommit over the instability. With Oklahoma now rumored to be looking at John Cooper as well, Ohio State decided they just couldn't take the risk. Cooper had twisted their arm and made them submit. John Cooper was re-signed for another 5 years on a deal worth around $650,000. A little bit more than LSU's offer. Money talks and bullshit walks. And with the new deal in hand, Buckeye Nation looked at the upcoming 1995 season with optimism and hope. Until New Year's Day when they lost the Citrus Bowl to Alabama. Hey, look, you beat Michigan. You can't have everything you want. It's still John fucking Cooper, for Christ's sake. This was to be expected. The 1995 Buckeyes were a goddamn monster of a team. Quarterback Bobby Hoying had finally developed into a good quarterback, and his favorite target, wide receiver Terry Glenn, was the best wideout in the nation. Defensive end Mike Vrabel was a headhunter on defense, setting the program record for sacks and tackles for loss in a season. But when you think of the 95 Buckeyes, one man stands out from the rest. Eddie fucking George.
1.5. More than one. This is Eddie George turning the corner. Eddie George.
Eddie George. Touchdown.
Superstar running back continued to add to his Heisman resume the following week against Minnesota, as George racked up 178 yards rushing and 3 more touchdowns, leading the way to a 49-21 Buckeye rout at the
Bobcats on the road at Purdue. The handoff by Hoynes to George in a foot race, and he gets away. George is gone. Eddie George putting up more Heisman Trophy numbers.
In the era of bell cow running backs, Eddie was the king. At the time, he had the second highest rushing yards in school history behind the legendary Archie Griffin. This man was Big Ten football. Smash mouth, hard nose, in your face. He would carry the Buckeye offense on his back throughout 1995. And everyone they faced fell before him. Now with the chance to lock up the Big Ten title and a trip to the Rose Bowl, as well as potentially a national championship, Ohio State, ranked number 2 in the nation, heads to Ann Arbor to take on number 18 Michigan. You may be wondering how they haven't clinched the conference title outright by being undefeated going into the final week. Don't worry, we're going to put a pin in this and come back to it in a moment.
The big game rivalry intensifies year by year. Only the names change, like Hoying and Glenn of the Buckeyes. Concentration is at a premium. Ask Eddie George of Ohio State. Meanwhile, Brian Greasy, Michigan's quarterback, hopes that youth will be served. His charges are nimble and quick, and forays into the end zone soon become maize and blue folklore. It all starts with a meticulous sideline game plan. John Cooper, coach of the Buckeyes, is no stranger to the rivalry. The jubilation of last year's Ohio State victory only served to heighten the expectations in this dream season. On the line for the Buckeyes, a trip to football's holy grail, the Rose Bowl, the 50th anniversary, featuring the best of the Big Ten against the best of the Pac-10. Ohio State, Michigan, next. We're at Mainen Stadium, Ann Arbor, Michigan. They call it, folks, the Big House, Michigan Stadium, as ABC Sports College Football and the Big Ten present Showtime. Number 2, Ohio State against Michigan.
Now then, time for Mike Vrabel and the Buckeye defense to eat.
Biakabatuka dancing outside. The elusive Tim Biakabatuka with a nice gain. It's Biakabatuka. Good stiff arm. 2 runs, 2 first downs for touch. 61 yards. 3 wide receivers set, and they run it up the gut. Batuka. Play fake into the end zone. Touchdown Wolverines. Williams.
Oh boy. Eddie, can you get something going here?
They run out of the eye again. George brought down at the 24-yard line. Glenn is split to the top of your screen. Horn sacked at the 17, the second of the day. Pearson still in there on the toss. Swarm lost back at the...
Okay, this is bad. Hoying looked to Terry Glenn. We need to spread out this defense.
Got the tight end wide open, and he throws for Glenn, and he's picked off. Charles Woodson, a guy who was victimized 4 times.
Oh my lord, you underthrew him. Tell me this isn't happening.
Greasy over the top, touchdown Michigan. He got in. 8-man front for Ohio State. Two tights, the toss to Williams. Play fake.
Go to the church and ask God to forgive you.
I thought, and 8:03 to play. Watch play action here, though. Bring Batuka in and still throw the football. Second and goal. They give it to him. Touchdown. Wow.
Okay, we're down by 8, so we have to get in the end zone and score the 2-point try. As long as Hoying doesn't make any more bad reads, we can still tie the game here and go into overtime.
Terry Glenn, can he get it?
No, what the fuck? What? How? Oh my fucking god! How the fuck? He fucking what? 3 big things came from this game. First, Tshimanga Batuka ran donuts around this defense all day. How does giving up a rivalry record 313 yards to one running back sound to you? This is so bad that to this day, if you walk into a bar in Columbus and yell out Tshimanga Batuka 3 times, you will be beaten senseless by every able-bodied person in the bar. Second, probably most importantly, you just lost not only the national championship, as well as the Big Ten championship, and the fucking Rose Bowl. Yes, you lost everything with this one loss. It's all fucking gone. And you want to know why? The third and final pile of shit on this turd Sunday was that the only other team in contention for the Big Ten championship, the only other undefeated team in conference play, was a team that you couldn't play this season. I'm going to give you 3 guesses. Was it Michigan State, Penn State, or Wisconsin? I'll give you a moment to guess. Time's up. It was none of them because it was fucking Northwestern.
The end is nigh. The end is nigh. Run away. The end is nigh.
Yep, Big Ten's Vanderbilt won the conference championship. They definitely did not waste their once-in-a-generation good season. They went 8-0 in conference play with their only loss of the season coming against Miami. Wait, sorry, not that Miami. This Miami! Yep, they lost to a fucking MAC school. So based on Sicko's logic, Miami of Ohio should have actually been crowned Big Ten champions in 1995. Hang the fucking banner. Okay, deep breath, calm. This would result in USC winning the Rose Bowl over the Wildcats. Frankly, they didn't care too much at this point. They were playing with house money. Ohio State gets to be volunteered as tribute against Tennessee and Orlando. Hey, John, you remember those voices yelling for your ass to get fired? Well, not only are they back now, they're louder than ever. At least Eddie won the Heisman Trophy. I'll never understand how he wasted his career like we did. It's a fucking shame. Rinse, repeat. You're undefeated at 10-0. You've been ranked number 2 in the nation for most of the season and are probably the most physical football team in the country, despite losing Eddie George and Mike Vrabel. This was also despite rotating 2 quarterbacks during the season in Stanley Jackson and Joe Germain. Then again, being protected by future Hall of Fame tackle Orlando Pace helps give you some more time in the pocket. Throwing the ball a lot to David Boston also worked out very well, and the offense ran circles around their opponents. However, at this point, we all know how this ends. Losing again to Michigan 13-9. John Cooper just cannot fucking beat Michigan. The one time he did was clearly a fluke. All is lost. You go back to Orlando and get your asses whipped by the SEC once more. Who the fuck? Hold on. What? Wait. Say that again. We're actually going to Pasadena? That fucking rule. So, Northwestern once again had a great season and actually tied you bastards to split the Big Ten championship. Somehow, the Big Ten also failed to schedule you two to face each other for the second year in a row. I'm aware that the Big Ten is actually 11 teams at this point, and that some teams need to be skipped once in a while, but 2 years in a row? Jesus fucking Christ, Big Ten. Because of this scheduling mishap, y'all are tied. But thankfully for you, Northwestern went to Pasadena last year. And because of that stupid repeat drought rule, they can't go back again this year. So despite the failure against Michigan, you have a chance now to go win your first Rose Bowl since 1973. Problem is, you're playing the Pac-10 champion, who is now ranked number 2 in the nation and could split the national title if they win. Let me guess, is it UCLA or USC? Oh, Johnny, look who came to dinner! The ghosts of your fucking past!
Our scene at Pasadena now as you look live at the first of 2 major showdowns that will determine the national champion. Arizona State thinking very large in this game against Ohio State. And then, of course, tomorrow in New Orleans, the Nokia Sugar Bowl. ABC Sports welcomes you to the Granddaddy. It's the Rose Bowl. The Buckeyes of Ohio State against the Sun Devils of Arizona State.
Arizona State is a bunch of devils, all right. Jake Plummer and Terry Battle lead the offensive attack with the legendary Pat Tillman anchoring the defensive linebacker. With the Devils ranked second in the nation, if number 3 Florida beats number 1 Florida State in the Sugar Bowl the following night, Arizona State could lock up at least a share of the national title with a win. Ohio State is number 4 in the nation, but after shitting themselves against Michigan yet again, they ain't in the running for the Natty. But if they manage to win the game, it will spoil the Sun Devils' chances, and the decision on the national title is up to whatever happens in New Orleans. In the first quarter, the Buckeyes would strike first when Stanley Jackson connected with David Boston on a 9-yard touchdown pass. After a defensive stalemate that lasted into the next quarter, Plummer would finally find Ricky Boyer on a 25-yard touchdown pass to tie the game at 7, despite the ball hitting the ground and the refs missing it, of course. In the third quarter, the Sun Devils were able to push downfield enough to kick a field goal and take a small 10-7 lead. Ohio State saw this kick and simply said, "Hold my beer."
On him on the left, Jermaine gonna fake again. Comes to the middle, caught on the fly, the Buckeyes break Stanley. 72.
The Turf Monster swallows the Sun Devil corner, Jason Simmons, and newly subbed in quarterback Joe Germain throws a 72-yard touchdown to Demetrius Stanley, putting the Buckeyes ahead 14-10. More defensive struggle ensued as neither side was willing to give an inch. Pat Tillman and his defense kept Joe Germain in check, while the Silver Bullets did all they could to keep Jake Plummer from finding an option. Finally, deep into the fourth quarter, Ohio State tries to put this fucker to bed.
A tough spot for Jackson. Coming out from the Buckeyes 3-yard line. The hand is to Pearson. Bust loose.
He's got
20-yard line. He's free. Soward in a foot race has the angle, and he pushes him out of bounds at the 35.
Devils would make a heroic stand, forcing Ohio State to settle for a field goal.
Loose. Sun Devils.
He
Loose. And the big fella Rogers is rolling. There is a penalty flag down. However, so
After the block and after possession by Arizona State, during the run back, an illegal forward pass against the returning team, 5-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
At this point, Ohio State's mindset was just relief after the touchdown was called back. and looked to their defense to shut down Jake Plummer once more. However, Jake Plummer had become legendary at Arizona State for his comeback drives, and this drive was no exception.
They used a throwback pass to Jake Plummer in the same stadium against UCLA.
They're coming again.
Plummer in trouble, steps away, cuts free, breaks loose, 5, touchdown, Sun Devils. The snake does it again. This team won't die. You can cut a snake's head off, but he continues to live.
Arizona State has taken the lead with just over a minute left in the game. It honestly looked like it was all over, and the cries from the fans saying John Cooper couldn't do it were once again going to be screaming out into the night. But thankfully for Coach Cooper, Joe Germain was about to make himself some history.
Buckeyes have only one timeout left and 1:33. Field goal does them no good. Tight end, incomplete. 3rd down and 10 for Germain and the Bucks. Got it to Stanley. That's a 1st down, and now leading the cheers. Steps away from the pressure. There he's got it. Stanley again, and the clock will stop to try to win it here in the last 53. Germain got him again. Stanley out of bounds. Joe Germain. A one-on-one against Simmons. And there's a penalty flag on the play. That's what it is. Yes, indeed. That's a 15-yard penalty. Over the middle, incomplete, and there's the flag.
Pass interference on the defense, 15-yard penalty.
Keller is offset from Pepe. Germain going to throw it wide open. Got him. Buckeyes lead it. 19 seconds to go. And the freshman, David Boston, with his 2nd touchdown pass of the game.
Ohio State has taken the lead again with 19 seconds left. Arizona State did block the extra point to keep it within 3 and got really close to putting themselves in field goal range, but the clock just did not have enough time left. John Cooper, 10 years after winning a Rose Bowl as the coach of Arizona State, defeats his old school. Ohio State wins their first Rose Bowl in almost a quarter century, in their 2nd bowl game in John Cooper's tenure. The senior class of this Buckeye team is one of the winningest of all time, setting a record 41 wins between them. This could have been enough to propel them to number 1 in the nation, but the Florida State Seminoles got death rolled by the Gators 52-20 the following night in the Sugar Bowl, giving Florida the outright national title. However, if you'll indulge me for a moment, there exists an alternate scenario. If the Big Ten had just abolished the repeat drought rule before 1996, and if the Rose Bowl selected Northwestern over Ohio State, which the Rose Bowl had the right to do, by the way, if they chose despite the repeat drought rule, then Ohio State could have been placed against Florida State instead in the Sugar Bowl. This is because the Bowl Alliance had an agreement with the Big Ten to allow them to take a runner-up, or in this case, the other team that tied for first. The reason they didn't select Northwestern is because of their overall record. But with one loss Ohio State, they could have had a real shot to beat Florida State and win the national title despite the loss to Michigan. It doesn't matter now either way, I'm just speculating here, but even with the missed opportunity of a national championship and losing to Michigan, a Big Ten co-title and the Rose Bowl win was enough to finally silence the John Cooper firing crowd, at least until the following season.
And it's for Ennis, and he's gone. Touchdown.
Well, here we go again. Despite continued success from Joe Germain and David Boston on offense and a defense captained by probably the most terrifying motherfucker to ever play linebacker for Ohio State, Andy Katzenmoyer, John Cooper blew a big game against number 2 Penn State. However, Ohio State did win out the rest of the way and were number 4 in the country going into the final game against number 1 Michigan. You know, the last time Michigan lost to Ohio State, it was kind of fluky, and after a year where they saw some success. Maybe this is the year.
Snap is low, but he gets it out all right. Oh, my goodness, look at this. He runs Woodson all the way back to the 22-yard line. Woodson's got one block and another block. One more and he's gone. Touchdown, no flags.
Nope, still can't fucking beat Michigan. Jesus Christ, John, I don't care if they went on to be national champions. How in the flying fuck do you always lose to the same goddamn team? And not just that, the biggest rival Ohio State has. Oh, that explains it. Enjoy getting scalped by the Seminoles. I'd say I'm let down, but we all know how this shit ends by now. John Cooper lost Lol. Next! You are number 1 in the nation at 8-0. Going into a home game against 4-4 Michigan State. Shit's looking pretty decent by the half as you head into the locker room with a 17-9 lead. And they are looking even better after a 73-yard pick six by Damon Moore to start the third quarter. With a 24-9 lead over the Spartans, Ohio State is about to pull away to a 9-0 record.
Spartans! What is your profession?
Team favored by 4 touchdowns. Had to correct a bad snap that time, and it hit a Buckeye. I thought it hit 18 in the jersey, or did it hit a Spartan? Michigan State recovered it. They'll sort it all out. And they've got it. It did hit a Buckeye. Burke fires over Plummer, dives, LaBelle's got it in the corner, and touchdown, Michigan State. And down 8, they're down 9. Here's Wiley, jogs and hit from behind, and that shows you the kind of defense if the ball goes free, and the Spartans recover it. Watson off a good snap, and it's good. Yards than Ohio State. Hard to believe. One-on-one. Gonna try first again against Winfield. Got it this time. Jump ball, and Michigan State wins it this time. It'll be Irving. Picking his way. Touchdown! Michigan State ties Ohio State. Now you can say, they're in the lead. 92 yards in only 8. Jermaine moves the pocket hard to the right under pressure. There's Peterson again. Ballers loose. Spartans still holding. Got it at the 20-yard line. Josh Shaw. Right down the middle. And Jermaine takes it deep towards Miller. Intercepted. Hill's got it. Ronaldo Hill. 1:12 to kill on the clock as Ronaldo Hill picks off the pass intended for D. Miller.
I fucking hate those guys. You get shut out in the fourth quarter and blow a 15-point lead. Michigan State upsets you 31-24, and you have been effectively eliminated from the inaugural BCS National Championship race. I mean, I guess there's always a chance you could beat Michigan and split the conference title, but considering John Cooper is 1-8-1 to this point against them, I'm not getting my hopes up. Not again.
Big one down the middle. Boston's there. Touchdown. No flags.
You blew them out? Well, all right then. Shit. We beat Michigan. I know we have to split the title with them, which isn't great, but still, this is a great day for Ohio State. Since we beat them, that tiebreaker puts us in Pasadena and another Rose Bowl. What do you mean they gave the Rose Bowl to Wisconsin? They lost to Michigan. God fucking damn! I mean, the Sugar Bowl is pretty prestigious, so it's not all bad. But again, we know how this ends. John Cooper doesn't understand the meaning of clutch. The Buckeyes are going to come out and lay a goddamn egg in New Orleans. I know we're favored by 2 touchdowns, but it doesn't fucking matter. We will find a way to lose again. At least I have Bourbon Street to drown my sorrows. Holy shit, we won. Despite the loss to Michigan State in November, Ohio State found a way to not only beat Michigan, win a share of the Big Ten, but also win a massive bowl game in the Sugar Bowl. Maybe John Cooper is finally coming around to the winning ways. No, we couldn't go 4 for 4 and also take the national title, but this was an excellent season. You know what? It's been hard, and honestly, it's been a struggle to get to this point. But I am starting to like that guy, John Cooper. Wait, I don't like him that much! Well, so much for the Cooper curse lifting. The wheels have come flying off as Ohio State got smoked by Illinois, Michigan State, and Michigan, to name a few. They missed out on a bowl game for the first time since John Cooper's first season as coach. You can argue that this was supposed to be a rebuilding year, but that sharp of a drop isn't rebuilding. It's regression. Look, the man has been here 12 years now and has won a fuck ton of games. Few times we got a bowl win include the Rose and the Sugar. We can look past this one season, but we cannot return to the way things used to be. Not anymore, John. You don't have to do all of these things next season, but you need to do at least one of them. You can either win a Big Ten title, win a bowl game, or beat Michigan. If you just do one of these things, you can stay. But if none of these things happen, then you're gone. What's it gonna be? You're starting off pretty nicely at 5-0 going into the game against Minnesota. Look, the Gophers lost to your drunken cousins from Athens a few weeks ago. If they can't beat Ohio, they sure as shit can't... Okay, you know what? It's not the end of the world. I mean, John, we could still win the Big Ten, so, I mean, we'll give you a pass this time. All right, you bounced back by beating up the Hawkeyes last week. Everything's fine. The Boilermakers are fairly good, but we all know their quarterback Drew Brees is a bum. Just take care of business.
I like trains.
Wide open, got him! Touchdown Purdue! Seth Morales! Holy Toledo!
John, I think we just lost our shot at the Big Ten title. That's strike one. Get it together. We got Michigan in 3 weeks. This is it. Michigan. Now, look, we do technically still have a shot to get a share of the Big Ten title with Purdue and Northwestern. All you gotta do is beat Michigan. Remember, John, the curse was supposed to be over. Get going.
Early in this ballgame. He's back out there, Swanee, because they're not going for the field goal. They made Ohio State think they would. And it's Henson rolling around to the end. If he scores, it's over, and it is. Touchdown, Wolverine.
John. You're making my job really fucking hard right now, John. We can't accept that sometimes we will lose. But if you are always losing to Michigan, we are never going to get anywhere. It has been the same damn dog and pony show since 1988, John. And not only have the fans been wanting your head on a pike, but now the president and administration are sick of this shit. You have one last chance with the Outback Bowl against South Carolina. You have to win this game to save your job. Don't fuck it up.
Pitches it to Brewer. Turns the corner. Touchdown, number 3 of the afternoon.
Penalty flag.
To the shock of absolutely no one, you fucked it up. We have fully slid back into the Cooper curse. And I, for one, am sick and tired of living in it. Say, John, you know what the best way is to get rid of a curse? Sacrifice a soul.
And there was much rejoicing.
Growing up, I always remember hearing bits and pieces of the John Cooper years, but never fully understood how bad it really was. Once I dug into the research for this video, though, I just kept asking myself the same question over and over, which is why? Why in the name of God did Ohio State stick with Cooper for 13 years? But the more I asked, the more the answers became pretty obvious. First of all, I mean, he won. He rarely won games in prime time and important games when they mattered, and certainly didn't win enough bowl games, and definitely didn't win enough against Michigan to make the rivalry even remotely competitive, but he won everything else. His record as Ohio State coach was 111 wins, 43 losses, 4 ties. Most schools at this level would be thrilled to have a record like that over a 13-year period. But most schools don't have the lineage and history of Ohio State either. I mean, it sounds cocky to say this, but here's the thing. To this day, the Ohio State Buckeyes have never lost more than 7 games in a season, ever. In the entire history of the program, no other team in FBS can claim this statistic. Sure, while John Cooper could win, those 43 losses were mostly against rivals and on the national stage. They constantly failed to break through to the next level when any other team with the depth and the talent that they had should have. Over a decade of almosts and near misses, yet the Buckeyes hung on to him for years despite this, thinking he was better than the alternative. Yet they tossed out 9-3 Earle Bruce after one bad season in 9 years. Speaking of old Earle, here's the irony in all of this. Earle Bruce won exactly 81 games in 9 years. That's why he's got the nickname 9-3 Earle Bruce. He averaged 9 wins a season at Ohio State. You know how many games Cooper won on average over 13 years? 8.5. Ohio State hung on to Coach Cooper longer than Earle Bruce and statistically did worse year over year. It's like karma wore a headband that said Earle on it for 13 years and fucked over Ohio State every chance it could get. Cooper brought success, yeah, but also pain. So much pain. So, what happened to Coach Cooper after he was sent packing? Well, he decided he had enough of this and retired from coaching. This is where I'm going to once again give the man his due. Despite all the shit I gave him in this video, he had an excellent coaching career and an excellent football career overall. Hell, he was an excellent football player for Iowa State's Dirty 30 squad in 1959. For his achievements in college football, both on the field and off, he would be rewarded. He was elected into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2008. The Rose Bowl would also induct him into their own Hall of Fame as well in 2012, representing both Ohio State and Arizona State as coach. Ohio State and Iowa State would also give him Hall of Fame honors as well in 2013 and 2014 respectively. It's safe to say that things these days between him and the school are pretty kosher. However, just because he retired doesn't mean he left the game completely. You will see him around Columbus from time to time, but currently, he is actually working as a scouting consultant for the Cincinnati Bengals. As for Ohio State, they definitely feel in the end that they made the right call. The final reason they fired John Cooper is that they didn't have to look far for his replacement. All they had to do was drive up the road to Youngstown, Ohio, and sign Jim Tressel. He had taken the Penguins of Youngstown to great success, winning 4 FCS national titles in the 1990s, a proven winner that thankfully set a completely different tone on his arrival. Unlike John Cooper, who didn't know much about the Buckeyes when he came in and never gave much of a shit about the game against Michigan, Tressel is a sturdy son of Ohio and knows all too well what this game means.
Out of our young people, in the classroom, in the community, and most especially in 310 days in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
The rest, you could say, was history.